What's up, comic book fans? Pete here from Comic Books Transformed, where me and my good friend Brian over there discuss shows and movies that have been adapted from comic books. Brian rocking his Trogdor shirt and being very observant of our changed background. Today, we are covering the Acolyte, episodes 1 and 2.
Yes.
So Brian, you said something when we first started, but I have no idea how you feel about this show. You want to kind of give me an idea, like a general thought?
What I said is we have a new background for this show,
right.
And I know that probably signals that I don't like it, or I have, I'm not high on the show, but I'm just in comparison to the last 3 things we reviewed. I mean, this show. I mean, what could compare?
Yes.
But I'm kind of just like on it. It's fine. Yep. It's not bad. It's not great. It's just kind of mediocre. I find I was looking at a few articles about it. The Rotten Tomatoes score has a very high critic percentage rating, and the user score is very, very low. It's just one of those things that happens, I guess. I know that Star Wars is one of those fan bases that can get very nitpicky about things,
right?
And I guess that's kind of what's going on here.
Well, let me ask you this, right? Out of all the live action stuff, because Disney Plus has been putting out Star Wars stuff since we've had a channel, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
And out of all the live action Star Wars stuff that we've covered, what do you think has really added to the Star Wars lore, and it's oh, this is something new and interesting and different besides Andor?
That's really it.
It's really it, right?
Yeah. I was almost going to argue Mandalorian, but I mean, has it really? It's just a fun thing that's set in Star Wars that's not bad,
Right. And that's what a lot of this stuff is. Kind of like a fun thing set in Star Wars.
But Mandalorian has a higher quality. I think overall, there are definitely some dud episodes here and there.
Yeah.
But I think overall has a higher quality than most of the rest of the stuff. Andor being the opposite, where it's the best thing that they've done with Star Wars and, for a long time.
Well, when I think about this stuff, I think about these posters or puzzles of massive Star Wars pictures that have the different eras of the Skywalker saga, right? So it'll be on one side is the prequels, in the middle is the classic trilogy, and then on the other end is the sequel trilogy. And I think of the distinct look of the characters and the ships, and I think okay, well, this is very distinct, the prequel stuff. Obviously the original stuff is very distinct, but then everything else is just kind of a variation of those two things.
Yeah. I don't know how to comment on that, because it's true. It's just, everything is just kind of fitting in with the pre-established stuff, really. And I was thinking this show was going to be something different and outside the box, but it isn't that far off of the prequel stuff. It's about 100 years off.
Right,
so,
exactly.
I mean, it doesn't. It's weird, because I'm also thinking myself, calling myself a hypocrite here, because I made a comment to you about the Dune TV show, which I know is based on one of the books, or partially at least. So that was it, Dune Prophecy.
I think that's what it's called. Yeah, the show. Yeah,
Dune Prophecy. It's going to come out on Max in the fall, and it takes place 10,000 years before the events of the first Dune book and the movies we just saw in the theaters.
Right.
But everything is exactly the same. The same people are in power. Everyone's dressing the same. All the same families are there. Nothing has changed. But here, it's 100 years, and I still feel the same way here. It's just even though it's more believable because it's only 100 years or so, but still, it's not enough is different about it to set it apart. I feel like they should have went back further. I was just looking up one of my favorite, eras of Star Wars, which I don't think it's canon anymore, but the Knights of the Old Republic games. I played the first two, KOTOR 1 and 2. No, I haven't played the newer MMO one, but that's thousands of years before,
right?
As well. Again, sort of that problem where everything's kind of the same still. Not much has changed in general overall, but it was far apart enough that it was completely removed from everything.
Yeah,
and this is just not removed quite enough.
Gotcha. I remember a very specific trailer because they had a lot of cinematics for that game, and I've only like ever played the first one for like the first few levels or whatever. There's this one trailer where like there's two Sith Lords and they go onto a ship, and what's the name of the female Jedi that like has the double-bladed lightsaber? What's her name in that game? Bastila Shan, right. So she's in it and she kind of fights against the Sith Lord, and one of them like kind of looks like Darth Maul. He's got the the spikes and stuff. And, there's a pilot. It looks like he's flying something that's like the Millennium Falcon, even though it's thousands of years in the past. There's troops in it, and they look like clone troopers, So I was thinking that when I was watching it, too.
Yeah.
Well, so this show is set during the High Republic era. Do you know anything about that era at all?
No. Going into it, I thought it was going to be more like High Republic was going to be more like Knights of the Old Republic, but no, it's so I really don't know much about this short time frame here.
Nice. So time for me to bore you and give you a little lecture on it. Yeah. No, I'll make it short and sweet, hopefully. But it's an initiative that Disney did, and basically it's comic books, this show, and also a lot of novels. Charles Soule is actually one of the main writers of it, right? And and in it, the Jedi are like at their peak, and they make this station that's like in the middle of the Outer Rim. That's going to be like their other base. What's really cool about it is it's almost like the inverse of the Death Star, because it's like this bright, shining beacon, and it looks more like a satellite than the Death Star. It's not round, and it's like the Jedi are like spread out. The Republic is at its height. Everything's positive. And there's a villain in it. There's a group called the I forgot the fucking bad guys in it. That's horrible. But they're basically like almost like Mad Max type bad guys that like are on the fringe of society, and they're interesting too. But it's not like Sith versus Jedi in this. And I think in those games you were telling me about, that is like Sith versus Jedi.
It is Sith versus Jedi, yeah.
Yeah. There's also these like kind of like plant dark side creature things called the Drengir. I remember their name. Oh, Nihil. The other guys are called the Nihil. And they're like the main bad guys. And there's a bunch of characters that are like referenced in this show, and even one of the characters is in this show. Vernestra Rowe, the bald green woman.
Ooh, okay.
She's one of the main characters, but she's like 100 years younger in all the High Republic books and comics.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because the High Republic is like an era, and so this show is like the end of the era, and when you read the book, it's like the beginning of the era.
Okay.
So that's my lecture. That wasn't too long, right?
No, and that sounds interesting. I like the idea of a different kind of enemy. I mean, I guess really with the live action stuff, what have we seen that other than Sith versus Jedi? So it's just not interesting to do that, but at the same time, it's like how do you make a good adversary for a Jedi? Because I mean, they do seem rather overpowered, really. In general.
Yeah. What the Nihil, what makes them kind of a competition for the Jedi is mainly like the space combat stuff, because they can control. They have a special weapon that makes them hyperspace jump without like programming it and stuff, and it being like in hyperspace lanes. So they'll like jump around in a space battlefield and like mess people up.
Do they jump through ships?
I don't think they do that thing, the Holdo method or whatever.
Yeah, I actually don't mind it. I just making the reference.
Right. But they have their own kind of style of fighting. Like obviously they don't really stand up to lightsabers, but they often like spray smoke on people, and they all have like masks and these crazy elaborate helmets and stuff. And they're all different alien races. They're not just like humans or one specific race. They're just kind of bonded by their sort of anarchistic ways, but they're not in this show at all.
Okay, maybe they should have been.
Yeah, no kidding. So let's talk about like the making of this show, right? So the person that made the show, or the showrunner, is Leslie Headland. Now, she doesn't really have anything in her resume that seems Star Wars related or anything that you could kind of compare to Star Wars. She wrote a play which is called The Bachelorette, and they made it into a movie. then she did a movie called Sleeping with Other People. She co-created that show Russian Doll. Have you seen that one?
Russian Doll was very good.
Okay,
I didn't see the second season, but the first season was very good.
Okay, so she co-created that.
Yeah.
But the stuff I listed, like that first movie, The Bachelorette, I think like Rebel Wilson is in it, and I think maybe Kirsten Dunst, but like it's just nothing like this at all, you know?
Yeah, I think that kind of speaks to how influential Star Wars is in popular culture. That and maybe this explains why some fans are so nitpicky, because they're essentially like kind of gatekeeping it, because so many people say they like Star Wars and they don't know them, which is totally fine. You could be a Star Wars fan and just have seen one movie. I don't care. But I think maybe that's because like everyone says they're a Star Wars fan, and then I think the hardcore fans want somebody that knows all the comic details and book details and wants to make these intricate things that kind of expand on pre-existing things. And other people just want to say, hey, I did something with Star Wars,
Yeah.
I keep thinking about. Do you see the interview with the cast and the guy who plays? Oh my God, I forgot his name.
Which one? Like the young knight guy?
Yeah. He makes a comment about Anakin blowing up the Death Star, and people were like ripping him.
Oh no!
And he did it twice. He did it in two separate interviews.
Oh no! Yeah. That sucks.
And I think that's what it is. It's just people. I think there are more casual fans, and which is again totally fine. And I think that some people want hardcore fans like Dave Filoni to be making things that put all this thought and detail into it, and rather than just making a show in the Star Wars universe because they're like a fan of it.
Yeah. I mean, and it's kind of upsetting because the thumbnail I made for this episode, it's just the main character Osha, and it says a new Star Wars show for Star Wars fans to hate. That's what the thumbnail is, right? And I think I was trying to get a little bit of attention to our channel. But I'm not going to sit here and rip into this show. It's just that when I think about this kind of stuff, I think about when I was like 12 years old and I was like, okay, how would they make another Star Wars movie? What would it look like? And I always felt like there would be these new, different threats, and that like they would elaborate on things that we've seen, like with the Jedi teaching or the Sith teaching. Like they'd go deeper into stuff, right? Because so much of the stuff, like the heart of Star Wars, what's interesting about Star Wars is like when Yoda's training Luke, it's when like Darth Vader's trying to seduce Luke to the dark side, the Emperor is trying to seduce him to the dark side. Like that's really exciting, compelling stuff. And I feel like all of the Disney stuff, all of it has been like devoid of that.
Yeah, it's just again, I think it's just people saying they did something with Star Wars.
Yeah,
in their career.
Yeah.
I think that's really what a lot of it boils down to. And I know Disney realizes that they have this major cultural phenomenon IP, and they're like, what can we do with this? And just so far, just most of the output has just kind of been mediocre. And this kind of falls in that category. That's all.
Well, do you think that they're like scared to introduce something new, something that kind of changes the story? Like, do you think that Disney is scared to deviate from George Lucas's established stuff?
Yeah, I think absolutely. They're trying to stay sort of relevant with what exists there that people know. They're definitely playing it safe. Although at the same time, I've seen a lot of the criticism about this is that this show kind of makes diversity like its angle. And I think people don't like the show is sort of based on that. Base it on a story, then cast people and whatever, like.
Yeah. No, I get you. It's funny. Like I just started rewatching A New Hope with my daughter, and it's like there's one woman in the fucking movie. There's one white woman, and that's it, right? And that's
even the prequels is pretty much just one too.
Right. It's just Padme. I mean, I know there's some like female Jedi, and Padme has some handmaidens, but like the speaking parts, like the dramatic parts, are essentially one woman in those movies.
Yeah. Yep.
So obviously, like, anyone can enjoy Star Wars, but there's not a lot of representation in the original trilogy, and that's what people just watch over and over and over again.
Yeah,
and the
yeah,
prequels are
they're well-made movies. I mean, even if you do have criticisms of the prequels and sequels, that they're still well-made movies.
oh, absolutely.
So yeah,
So like, what was I going to say? Like, let's actually talk about the show itself, though, right? So,
yeah.
to me, I have the same kind of meh feeling. Mike Bongiorno messaged me saying, I had that meh feeling about the show. My friend Jay messaged me saying, like, oh, I'm not sure if I want to check this show out. It seems like the people that like grew up with Star Wars, that are really interested in Star Wars, invested in it. My friend Andrew last night went to go see Furiosa. He said he wasn't really interested in it. It just seems like everybody's just kind of catching on that it's just sort of like reheated McDonald's. It's just like, okay, well, we know what this tastes like. Here it is again,
Yeah.
What about on your personal side? Do you know anybody that would watch this?
I will say that I wasn't even really feeling it myself, but I'm watching it because we were going to review it. Really, that's I feel like Star Wars has not become like event TV or movies anymore. I think there's been too much of it, and I don't know. Maybe there's a need a break, or maybe we need something. They need to do less and do more with less.
Yeah.
To kind of build excitement back or something. I don't know. But I guess this, like, they're trying to do something removed, and even still, it just feels. It's not a bad show. It's just not a great show either. It's just kind of there. Like you said, it's reheated McDonald's. Yeah, that's a perfect analogy.
Well, okay, so like with this show, right? Like the angle on it, you were saying that like they were trying to like kind of use diversity, or like that's the way that people are saying they're trying to make the show be. Not you, but like the detractors, which a lot of people make money off of saying stuff like that about Star Wars.
Yeah.
But like the idea of the show, at least the way that the producers and stuff sell it, or Disney sells it, is that it's like a mystery. Who is the Acolyte? What is going on? Why are they trying to murder these people? But there's not really a fucking mystery. It's pretty much established in the first episode. It's like, it's this girl's sister. She's killed everybody,
Yeah. I guess maybe you're supposed to be wondering who the guy is that training her. Maybe I don't know. I have some questions about it in general.
Yeah.
Because if we just jump straight into spoilers here, I mean, we've kind of delayed long enough here. But one of the things I'm confused about is that both sisters thought the other was dead, and I kind of want to know why.
Sure. Like, to me, it's like there's like the macro story stuff that has like these driving questions of like, who is this Sith Lord, and what does this mean for the Jedi? Like, that's like the big picture stuff, but then there's the smaller detail stuff, and that stuff is like where I want to get the answers to. Like you just said, you just brought up a question I didn't even think about, which is like, how come the sisters don't know one is alive too?
Yeah, and then also, what really happened in the events on that planet where this fire happened too? Like, clearly, there were Jedi there. So even the one Jedi dude thinks something that happened was problematic. So there is some mystery around the general events of that, but it's fairly small scale, I suppose, here.
Yeah. To me, that's more intriguing. The idea of like Jedi being blamed for people's deaths, or like almost like they could be like sinister, like they did something and they're not Sith. That's actually kind of intriguing storytelling right there.
Yeah, I agree. I think we will see more of that by the end here. We're only 2 episodes in. It's still very early on. So
yeah. So I wanted to give some credit to Amanda Stenberg, because she plays 2 characters. She's these 2 sisters. She wanted. What's up?
Not to be a total dick, but I believe it's Amandla. There's an L in there, I think.
Oh, well, no, I'm the total dick fucking up her name. Sorry. No, Amandla Stenberg. I'm just going to call her Osha and May for the rest of this episode. But like, I think that she's doing a good job, because she's essentially playing 2 very different characters. Like, when OSHA fights Trinity in the beginning of the episode. Wait.
I love how casually you just called her Trinity, because that's exactly what it felt like.
Yeah. And I totally fucked it up too, because it's not OSHA that fights her, it's May. May fights her. She has a certain demeanor, she acts a certain way. I think she might even move in a different way. And then you cut to this other scene where OSHA is working on a ship, and it's like, wait, are these the same character? Like, if it's the same character, then that character is really good at concealing their identity. But then it's just like, no, they're twins.
Yeah, I wish there was something different. I wish there was like a shapeshifter or even or something stupid. I don't know. It's just a little far-fetched that two sisters that each thought each other were dead, the other was dead, look exactly the same, had the exact same haircut.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I didn't even think about
like,
that.
I almost wish I wish they weren't supposed to be identical twins and it was two different actresses. Something, but I mean, then you kind of lose that's the girl that messed up my bar kind of thing. But you can just say he's an alien. He thinks all humans look alike. I don't know.
There you go.
I feel like something would have been better off if it was two actresses. And actually, for a while, I was thinking that it was like two personalities in one body.
Right.
Like, what was the movie that I just watched? The horror movie.
Insidious?
No. Malignant,
dude.
Yeah,
I meant Malignant.
Yes,
but I said Insidious, and it's the same fucking director.
Yes, same director. Yeah.
Right.
But that got me there, though. You said that, it reminded me of the director's connection. So
right.
That might have been a cool angle to take for this, using the same actress. Right. I don't know. Maybe they still could somehow. I don't know. Probably not.
Okay, but here's so I actually really like the idea of like when there's like witnesses and the Jedi bring them up, and then the witness is like, it's her, she's the one that did it, and it's like, it's OSHA. I like that. That's fun, But the thing that confuses me or I have an issue with is OSHA is the one that was trained to be a Jedi, and now all of a sudden May is using all these Force powers and stuff. So I guess they're both strong in the Force. Well, right.
The timeline is questionable to me.
Yes.
The fire happened when they were 8 years old. And then OSHA was trained for 10 years approximately. And then she was removed from training for 6 years. So I believe makes her around 26-ish. Something like that. Mid-20s.
18 plus 6, 24, right?
24. Okay, sorry, I can't do math.
It's all good. It's all good.
So were they both trained, or was the training after the fire? Was the training started before the fire, sort of thing?
Right.
That's kind of a lot of questions I have about it, because you're right. This girl is taking revenge for something that happened, or the way she perceives the events, and we don't know what kind of training she's had.
Yeah. I mean, it could be something along the lines of that these Jedi are familiar with the two twins as little girls, right? Because it's established that the Jedi that were on the planet where the fire happened are the Jedi that May is hunting down, right, and trying to kill. And one of them is Lee Jung-jae. He's playing Jedi Master Soul. Squid Game guy. Yes. He is fucking fantastic. I love him in Squid Game, and he's just this charismatic dude. I was going to say, though, that he seems to know May, too, even though he didn't train May.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing is that he knows her, but no one else does. It's not on any files. So that's why I was kind of going with the angle of like two minds in one body sort of thing.
Right,
but
right.
We've seen them in the same scene now, so I guess they kind of can't do that.
Right, exactly.
That had me going for a little bit. Like I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I mean, it's an idea done in something else, But I'm interested.
Yeah.
So I hope like most things here, like I think our fantasy booking ends up being more interesting than what actually is, and which is usually the safest, most common denominator answer.
Right. It's that reheated McDonald's. It's safe.
Yeah.
Like I know what a Big Mac tastes like, But like with Lee Jung-jae, I wanted to say he's a plus to the show. Like his soul
Great.
is like this stoic guy. You know, I did a little research. I've heard from a couple different sources that he based Soul on Qui-Gon Jinn. Like, so, you know, I think that's probably a good model for a guy.
Yeah, no, he's my favorite part of the show, honestly.
Yeah, well, you know what's weird? My favorite part of the show is this dude Yord. I think because he's so like dorky, you know.
Oh my god. Okay, yeah. So yes, he's super dorky, which is fine. And okay, so there was a scene. I don't remember if it was the first or second episode. They're going to like get Yord to go on the mission or whatever, and he's just like getting changed. And my first thought was like, "Oh my god, this is the reverse of Star Trek Into Darkness with
Yes,
the exact reverse of it."
Yep,
I get it now.
Yeah. Female gaze, male gaze, right? They just like flipped it right there. Yeah. No, the guy who plays him, Charlie Burnett, the one that you said Anakin blew up the Death Star. Jesus Christ. He looks
and double down on it.
Oh my god. Like he looks so fucking familiar. I don't think I've actually seen the stuff that he's in though, but he was in Arrow. He was in like the last season of Arrow.
Oh, and I didn't see
he played
that.
like Diggle's son.
Oh wow, I didn't know Diggle had a son.
It might be like one of those things where it's like his son in the
future.
future.
The future. Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. There was a future thing. That's right. Okay.
But then, so then besides that, though, he's on that Russian doll show that you said you watched, but maybe he's in the second season.
It's possible. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't see it.
No, but he's kind of rigid and stuff, and I like that. I like how much of like a stuffed shirt he is, you know?
Yeah, and another, this is a nitpicky question I had too. They introduce him with a Padawan.
Right.
And then later on, they bring in some other girl who's Daphne Keene, X-23 and Logan.
Yeah.
They bring her in who's kind of the same color scheme, but not. So where is this Padawan while this guy's in this mission? Like I thought there was to be like constantly together and training sort of thing.
Yes, I know. And honestly, okay, just full disclosure, I felt like the show was pretty forgettable. And so I had to do some like research just to remember things. And I saw that it said he had a Padawan, and I just assumed that his Padawan was Jackie Lon, played by Daphne Keene. But she's Saul's Padawan.
If she's a Padawan, even
she might just be a knight.
She might be. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay, but she's not Yord's Padawan.
No, different person.
Okay.
But
yeah,
it's both like white and yellow, sort of bronzish, you know.
Yeah. Well, I liked Jackie Lon though, and she's played by, like you said, X-23 or Laura from Logan. I didn't even realize that until I looked it up. I was like, oh shit, that's her.
Well, I saw her in the interviews. I'm like, wait, where is she? I'm like, oh, okay, I see. She's got a
yeah. She's this weird looking alien. Yeah. Well, honestly though, like the four main like hero people, like Osha, Saul, and Yord and her, I think they're all pretty fun and charming. I kind of wish that they were in like a different adventure, but we were following these four characters.
Yeah.
Right? Like instead of this like sort of dorky murder mystery, I wish like they stumbled upon something like the Death Star and they had to escape it or something.
Yeah, or they found some conspiracy or something. Yeah, but I don't know. Again, this is 2 episodes in of an 8-episode series. Like you said there, like they kind of solved the mystery in the first episode. Maybe it's just like a red herring placeholder kind of thing. Like they want you to think this and go down this plot line. They're gonna wow us with something else later on.
Yeah. Well, Movie Bob said that there's something in episode 3 that a lot of the guys that are like the toxic fan base or the guys that complain about race and all that kind of stuff when it comes to Star Wars, that's the thing they're latching onto. But he felt like it was so much of a stretch. So there must be something in episode 3 that is kind of semi-controversial.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I'm very curious to see that.
Who knows? I mean, yeah, we're only 1 episode away from that. But let's just kind of go through the beats for this real quick. I called Carrie-Anne Moss Trinity before, but the creator of the show wanted it to be like Trinity with a lightsaber. And she wanted her to use like martial arts, essentially.
I thought the fight scenes, this particular fight scene, and also the one with May versus Soul, were both very good.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely leans a little more into martial arts,
Right.
which I think is kind of cool. And we're joking here, forced through with Trinity with the lightsaber, but it was awesome.
Yeah, agreed.
She died.
Right. I kind of felt like she was going to die right away, and it was cool the way that it was set up, right? Because May was going to kill that bartender, and essentially, like, Trinity was holding back the blades with the Force, and then she had to save that guy's life, and so she like let go with the blade, and then she got it in her chest, right?
Yes, yeah,
and that was well done. And you're so used to seeing Jedi get killed with lightsabers that to see them one of them get stabbed, I thought was like interesting or whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting way to go out.
Yeah. And then, so I did like that scene too. I was kind of on board. I mean, honestly, I liked the first episode better than the second episode. With the first episode, they had that whole sequence where we get introduced to Osha, and she's a mech neck, right?
She's Mechaneck from He-Man.
Oh, no. That'd be better, though. Wouldn't that be fucking better? Right?
She's like fixing a ship and her head goes up and she's like, oh shit, there's a spaceship coming.
That's fucking good, man. No, but like Mechneck, like it's just so stupid. She's a fucking mechanic, but they got to make it sound weird.
Yeah, I'm very curious to know if I didn't look it up. I'm curious if that's a pre-established word or they're trying to like make a thing out of it because they said it a lot. Like if they said it once, like when they first said it, it was one of those like Trade Federation dudes, and I'm like, oh, maybe you just called her like a slur sort of or something like that, you know?
Right.
But then no, she's like mech neck and proud later on, you know?
Yeah. But you know what? Like I was talking about adding to the Star Wars lore or the canon. That's one thing that I think is interesting. That like at least in the High Republic era, a person working on the outside of his ship was illegal, and it has to be a droid. I like that.
Yeah, that is an interesting thing to do. Yeah, and an interesting angle to take there. Why she does it, I don't know.
Yeah, she wants some thrill. You know, I don't know. Like maybe she's just kind of desperate for money. I think she's kind of trying to remain anonymous too, right? Like kind of be off the grid.
Oh yeah, it sounds like this word was made for this show.
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it seems like something they would have in the High Republic too. The High Republic is pretty pretentious, you know. But so, and then one thing too that I wanted to point out. I don't know if you noticed this, but like the ship they used to get to her, like the Jedi ship, that is a ship that they made for the High Republic too. The Jedis have their own like fighters too, which are like these special Jedi fighters. And so they're not like X-Wings or TIE fighters. So I kind of appreciate that. I can't believe I fucking forgot the name of what they're called though. But fuck. I'll look it up while we're talking. But did you notice that, or did you think that ship looked cool?
Yeah, that ship looked pretty cool. But it looks like it looks like kind of a riff on I don't know, a Jedi starfighter and an A-wing sort of. I don't know.
Yeah, they're called vectors. Their ships are called vectors.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. And so I just, it's kind of cool to see that. And like, because I've actually read like maybe 3 or 4 High Republic novels, and I have a shit ton of High Republic comics that are just sitting in a box that I need to eventually read. They're on my pull list, and I just like kept getting them. So I know the era probably better than a lot of casual fans. I mean, do you like the? Yeah. Well, as a casual fan, you're not really a casual Star Wars fan, but like as someone who hasn't read the High Republic stuff, do you like the feel of the High Republic?
It doesn't feel that much different than the prequels to me. So
right.
I like the idea. I mean, I used to think when the original trilogy was out, and then when that was the only thing that was out, like I always wanted to hear stories or read stories about, when this is like a whole shit ton of Jedi.
Yeah.
And I feel like they haven't nailed it with anything I've read yet or they're seeing.
Right.
So, I mean, with the exception to me being those Knights of the Old Republic games because they're great. But anything else I've seen it from that time frame or before, it hasn't really hit the spot that I scratched the itch that I wanted it to, I guess.
Right, right. I totally 1000% agree. And like, I wanted to bring up this one scene because I think that one of the things that this show does that the Disney Plus shows do rarely, but every so often they hit it, there's that kind of feeling of like danger and grittiness that's in the original Star Wars that like Andor absolutely hits, Mandalorian was able to hit, where it actually was legitimately exciting, which was that prison transport escape scene, right?
Yeah.
She's on the prison ship. First of all, I thought all the creature designs were really good throughout the whole episode. And then, like, there's this one fucking prisoner that has an alien across his mouth to kind of like keep him sedated. And I thought that was a really cool touch, too.
Yeah. And it was a nice way to differentiate the characters or the personalities, however you want to look at it. For Osha saying, like, oh, she couldn't have been this person. Like who was this person that murdered somebody potentially? But they just saved this criminal out of nowhere, you know, like this can't be the same person.
Right. And I was really digging her. I mean, I like Osha. I don't really like May that much. I think like May is like a little too edgy or like too kind of cliche, but Osha's like likable and you kind of feel bad for her that she's in this situation. But that sequence when the prison ship is going down and then she crashes on the planet and like the snow from the planet comes through the wreckage. Like I liked all that stuff. I thought that was actually pretty good.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah. I also laughed when the guy immediately runs to the last escape pod.
Oh yeah.
I instantly thought of Spaceballs. Get back here, you fat bearded bitch.
right. You know what's weird? I think that's not even the first fucking time that we've thought about Spaceballs watching Star Wars stuff.
Spaceballs was my entry point to Star Wars.
Oh yeah, really?
Yeah, I mean, I technically saw Return of the Jedi in the theater. I was 2.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember a goddamn thing, but my interest in it, I saw Spaceballs on TV, and then I'm like, this is based on something, and I went and watched that, and I loved it.
Right.
But yeah, honestly, Spaceballs is my entry point to Star Wars.
Okay. Yeah, well, I did watch the shit out of Spaceballs too, and I would watch Return of the Jedi on tape over and over and over again. But I was gonna say that like we kind of keep talking about the idea of fantasy booking, like kind of what we would want from this like early era of Star Wars, and like how they don't really add stuff to the lore. And I think that like we have this Sith Lord now, who's at the end of the first episode. He ignites his lightsaber, and I liked what he was saying to May. I like that he was like, you have to kill a Jedi without using a weapon. And the stuff he says leading up to that's good. But then he just fucking randomly lights up his lightsaber. I just thought that was so fucking cheesy.
Yeah, it was. It was just kind of just, hey, look, it's a bad guy. Right. He's got a red lightsaber.
Right.
They didn't need to do that. I absolutely need to do that. And I also feel like May kind of misinterpreted what he was saying. He said something about like, we need to be able to kill a Jedi without a weapon, but not like, here on your next task is to kill the Jedi without a weapon. That's how I feel she took it, you know?
Yeah, well, she's so edgy and literal. That's why she would take it that way. Yeah. I gotta kill him without a weapon. How the fuck am I gonna do that? Yeah. So, but that's where I feel like they really could like play with it and make it more exciting. Where, like, the show's called The Acolyte, so it's like the idea that she's this guy's apprentice. Like, show him training her, you know?
Yeah, I did get the feeling that this show was supposed to be from a dark side point of view.
Right.
Like they were going to be the protagonist, and it does not feel like that so far. And that seems like a mistake to me.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, we're already kind of going around in circles a little bit about this, but let's just kind of talk about the plot that's moving forward. So, May has a very specific list. It's got Ndara, Trinity, who was killed off already, Torben, who we see in episode 2, and then Kel Naka, who's a Wookiee, and then finally Saul. These are these 4 Jedi that were stationed on their planet when this fire happened. Yeah. Now, what'd you think of the Torben stuff?
At first, I thought he was standing up. I didn't realize he was like floating in a meditative position. I also thought his makeup looked kind of weird. Like his beard looked super fake.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, and that was a weird sequence. I mean, I get it, but ultimately, it was interesting what happened is that he wakes up after 10 fucking years to talk to this girl, and then he just drinks poison because he deep down inside he knows he fucked up somewhere. So that's kind of interesting, honestly. That's an interesting way to look at it. But the I don't know, the makeup or something, the costume or something looked off. Like I didn't believe that guy was like a Jedi master. He looked too young, or
right.
Maybe God, it's probably not even fake. I'm just making fun of the way this guy looked, which is I'm not really.
It's all right. He's not watching. We have 16 people watch an episode. It's all good. He's not one of them.
Yeah.
Or unless he
watches the show or this show.
Oh no, Disney Plus. No. Wouldn't it be funny actually if that actor was watching though? He's like, "Hey, Mom, look, they're talking about my show," and you're like, "Look, this guy's fucking fake beard," and he's like, "Oh."
Maybe the costume designer is watching, and then go like, "God damn."
Right. Well, no, I totally agree with you though, because he did look like an 18-year-old boy that had on one of those glued beards.
Yeah, I don't think the guy necessarily did anything bad. It's just it didn't look right.
Right. So he's fucking dead. So now there's 2 dead out of the 4. We are following Saul. The last one is a Wookiee. Now, one thing I put in our notes that I just want to explain too is during the High Republic books, which I already said take place like 100 years before the show. There's a Wookiee Jedi, but his name's Buri Yaga, and so he's like the main Jedi Wookiee that you guys know from that series. This guy is a totally different guy, Kel Naka. So I think that maybe when people saw the trailers for this, they might have thought it was Buri Yaga, but it's this other guy. And I got to tell you that, like, during our discussion right now, I think that might be the most interesting aspect of this show, that these 4 Jedi did something inherently wrong. It's more like almost like a police corruption thing than like a Sith evil thing. And I actually kind of dig that.
Yeah, that is kind of an interesting angle. I mean, it is like a cliche kind of cop drama sort of thing.
Right.
But it is interesting that, it happened with Jedi, and,
right.
And they're covering something up. And I kind of want to see what it is.
Yeah. I mean, did you ever see LA Confidential?
I have not.
Oh my God. It's so fucking good. But that's kind of what it reminds me of, because that's all about like police corruption. It's so good if you ever get a chance, man. But that's kind of the vibe I'm getting with these corrupt Jedi. I mean, and who even knows if they're corrupt? Maybe like this fucking Sith is actually the one behind the fire, Maybe,
yeah. But it's, even if he is though, it's like they think they did it, they covered it up, so it is kind of like an iffy thing for a Jedi to do.
Yeah. So, do you know how many episodes there are in this season? 8. Okay, so we're 2 in. The next one comes out on Wednesday?
I believe they're Tuesday nights. That's essentially Wednesday.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Tuesday night. Okay, I gotcha. Was there anything else you wanted to say about this show?
No, not particularly yet. I'm more interested than I thought I'd be, I guess. But it's not going to be setting any records here.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we watch these shows, like, essentially, like, we get together. This is like our way of getting together and hanging out every week, is talking about what's on these Disney Plus channel or Amazon Prime. But there's a lot of times where we just kind of watch things that are like, oh, it's pretty good. It's like, you can't really say this is awful. But I think that unto itself is a criticism, right? Because like, Star Wars used to be so exciting up until maybe like after The Last Jedi, and then it's like,
I think back to the absolute madness of the Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
That was insanity. The lines, all the money that thing made, the records it broke, all that stuff. That was the first Star Wars thing in 20 years.
Yeah.
And I just think, and while you definitely saw a little bit of that when The Force Awakens came out, I don't think we're gonna see something like that again.
Yeah. We are, and this might turn off some of our friends. I think maybe John might not fall into this category, but like, we like The Last Jedi, and like other people really do not, right? But Ryan Johnson, who like is the bane for some Star Wars fans, he had this one quote about how like Star Wars can't become this thing that you just kind of wheel out and it's like a museum piece where you're like, oh, look at this again. Oh, there's TIE fighters. And I feel like that's the majority of Disney's output, with the exception of Andor.
Yeah.
You know? So, I mean, it might just be you and me going back to that museum and just be like, oh, look, they did that again. There's a lightsaber for a couple of years.
I remember those back in the day.
Yeah.
From the 2020s when they showed me one for the 30,000th time.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But at least it's fun to commiserate with you about the blandness of all this. So something not bland is on the horizon, though, right, Brian?
Oh, The Boys season 4, not gonna fail us. It's not gonna fail us.
No, fuck yeah. You know, today at the day of the recording, we're recording on Friday. It's Carl Urban's birthday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Carl
What's your
Urban,
favorite?
Oh, I was just gonna
Let's
say.
awkwardly talk over each other. We're still doing it.
Dread. I know you're asking, what's my favorite Carl Urban movie? Dread.
And you're like looking at me so seriously. For those that are listening to the podcast, he's just like Dread. And I thought you fucking said the movie Red, because he's in a movie called Red too.
Is he in Red with Bruce Willis?
Yes. He's like the foil to Bruce Willis.
Duh. I am the law.
There you go. Okay, so Dread is his best one. He's so fucking good as McCoy, though.
Yes, he is. He was the best part about those new Star Trek movies for me, especially the first one. Carl Urban's fantastic. I don't think I've seen him him bad in anything, honestly. So
right.
Thank you, Carl Urban.
Do you know he was on fucking Xena, Warrior Princess?
Yep, he was on Xena. I always forget he's in Lord of the Rings, and it was something else. And he's in like the Riddick movies too, or one of them.
Yeah. He's in Chronicles of Riddick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And he's in the beginning of the one after that or something like that too.
Oh, okay. I think that
one's a whole bunch of Riddick movies for some reason.
And there's a new one coming out too.
No way. Seriously?
Seriously, there's another Riddick that got greenlighted. Yes.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah.
Vin Diesel.
Yes. So that is our Star Wars The Acolyte conversation, which kind of devolved into a Carl Urban appreciation session. Rightfully deserved.
Yep. Wait.
And,
what is your favorite Carl Urban thing that you didn't answer? Is it Star Wars? I mean, Star Trek?
Yeah, as McCoy in Star Trek, but he's just fucking good in everything. Just everything.
Yeah.
There was a fucking show on Fox where he had like an AI cop. Did you
Oh,
ever see
that was such a good show. Yes.
And he was good on that too.
What was the name of it? And he had like a robot leg or something too.
He had a robot leg, and his cop partner had no dick. Like he just had like a Barbie, like a Ken.
Yeah. He was like a robot Ken doll. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, once we get to that point where we're talking about having no dicks, it's time for us to go. You guys come back, and we will talk some more about the Acolyte if this was at all interesting to you.
And some more about no dicks.
And more about no dicks. We always got that covered. But we'll talk to you guys soon, and we'll also have the boys next time.